Today I'll be talking about ADHD, Attention Deficit Hyperactivity Disorder. The Individuals with Disabilities Education Act has definitions for students who fall under this disability, and they are students who are limited, who have limited strength, vitality, or alertness that adversely affects the student's progress in school. And with this presentation, I'll be covering the definitions of the disability, the characteristics, the potential causes, and the type, and some of the accommodations, modifications that a teacher could use in a classroom setting to address this disability with their students, and some interesting facts. Attention Deficit Hyperactive Disorder is a chronic condition that affects millions of children and often continues into adulthood, and may include a combination of persistent problems such as difficulty sustaining attention, hyperactivity, and impulsive behavior, according to the Mayo Clinic. And children with ADHD may struggle with lower self-esteem, troubled relationships, and poor performance in school. This can lessen with age, however, it can go into adulthood. However, people with this disability can overcome and learn strategies to be successful. There are three types of ADHD: predominantly inattentive, second, predominantly hyperactive or impulsive, and thirdly, a combination of the two. A child who shows a pattern of inattention may often fail to pay close attention to detail, make careless mistakes, have trouble staying focused, and play, appear not to listen when spoken to directly, have difficulty following through on instruction and fail to finish schoolwork, have trouble organizing tasks and activities, avoid or dislike tasks that require focus, mental effort, such as homework, lose items for tasks or activities, for example, toys, school assignment, pencils, be easily distracted, and forget to do some daily activities, such as forgetting to do chores. A child who shows a pattern of hyperactivity and impulsivity may fidget with tap his or her hands or feet, or squirm in the seat, have difficulty staying seated in classroom, be on the go in constant motion, run around and climb in situations when it's not appropriate, have trouble playing or doing activity quietly, talk too much, blurt out answers, interrupt the teacher or others, have difficulty waiting for his or her turn, interrupt or intrude on others' conversations, games, or activities. Here are some characteristics that the book highlights. Under executive function, the common factor is that they have reduced capacity to self-regulate because they cannot stick to goals, have lack of inhibition. Under academic or intellectual function, they tend to fall behind in schoolwork, have lower grades and GPAs, and 50% or half of the students with ADHD have a learning disability, and they are 11 times more likely to have conduct disorder or tend to get in trouble because they cannot regulate emotions, have fewer friends. Here are some other contributing factors or potential causes. A student might be suffering from chronic or acute health problems, asthma, heart condition, hemophilia, lead poisoning, and also heredity. Genetics can contribute to the likelihood that a child will have ADHD, such as parent or a relative having suffered from it. And also in biology, their brain might be structured differently, have such as a brain abnormality under environmental causes. Um, During pregnancy, they might have been exposed to cigarette smoke, lead, and or alcohol, which might contribute to a low birth weight. And also after birth, they might have a poor diet, low family income, or suffer from child abuse and neglect. When a parent or teacher notices that their child or student exhibits 6 or more characteristics listed under inattentive and hyperactive impulsive types in earlier slides, and that the characteristics persist for at least 6 months and be present in at least 2 settings and not be attributed to another disability, and that they occurred before the age of 12, they can go to a pediatrician or um, refer the case for evaluation by a specialist, such as a psychologist or psychiatrist, speech pathologist, or developmental pediatrician. Once a diagnosis is reached, they may be prescribed medication that may, for instance, boost brain activity or lower it. They may also be prescribed for behavioral therapy, such as social skills training, parenting skills training, psychotherapy, or family therapy. There are numerous different approaches for ongoing treatment to address some of their ADHD symptoms. Once it is determined that a student has ADHD, an evaluation team must decide if the student will need special education and related services. Different tests and evaluations may help narrow down types of intervention and suggest IEP or individualized education program goals, objectives, and intervention. Ideally, a teacher will provide a welcoming classroom, identify and communicate clearly classroom rules for inclusion, highlight student strengths and preferences, and that everyone feels that they are treated with respect and dignity. Accommodations may be provided that address the student's needs of an ADHD student, such as providing a separate room for testing that minimizes distraction, or giving additional time to have assignments completed. Modifications may be included when necessary, such as dedicating 1 hour of behavioral therapy in a special education classroom. In the case that a student does not fully qualify as an ADHD student, they are still protected. So let's say a student exhibits less than 6 of the characteristics of the 3 subtypes of ADHD. A teacher must, in this case, address and affirm the disorder and work with the student so that they may complete the task along with everyone else. This refers to the Section 504 of the Rehabilitation Act. Schools may not discriminate against a student who does not meet IDEA criteria, but still is regarded as having or a record of having a disability. Everyone is unique, and it is up to us to identify specific needs of individuals. In closing, I'd like to share a short story. When I was going to boarding school in Sitka, I had a best friend. I was very quiet, reserved, didn't really mingle, but he was the exact opposite. And he was very outward, even though you don't want him in your face. He was always jolly in your face with everyone. And towards the middle of the school year, senior year, he came up to me and said, "Look, I'm failing. All my grades are D's and F's. I'm not going to be able to graduate." So I sat down with him and said, "I'll help you. I'll help you keep focus. After school, I'll make sure that you get your schoolwork done." Even though we don't have the same classes, I made sure he kept on track. And by the end of the school year, he actually got his grades up enough for him to graduate. So uh, you might see this in your classrooms where there's a struggling kid. You might want to team them up with someone who's actually doing well, and they might be able to help each other. And with that, I'll conclude.